Good morning, football fans. It is Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. Big Al here, and welcome back to the week that was in the National Football League as we recap the scores and the statistics, plus my picks against the spread and straight up for week number 11. And boy, I tell you, I was kind of due to have a bad week, and this will be reflected into my picks as we go along in this episode. So yeah, it was a pretty rough week. Easily my worst week of 2020. So now that it's over, I can tell you what happened and we can just move on from there. So, alright. We got the stats here, the scores, and we'll have my week 12 power rankings at the end, so stick around. Alright, so we're going to start this off with Thursday Night Football. The Arizona Cardinals traveled to Seattle to face the Seahawks. The Cardinals and Seahawks both came in with 6-3 records. Arizona was ranked 7th in my power rankings. Seattle was ranked 13th. The Seahawks end up winning this game 28-21. They go to 7-3, and they will be playing a week from Monday in Philadelphia against the struggling Eagles. While the 6-4 Cardinals travel to Foxborough on Sunday to take on the New England Patriots. All right, we'll start off with the victors in this game, which were the Seattle Seahawks. They ran 59 offensive plays for 347 yards, 28 passes for 182, 31 rushes for 165. Average yards per play was 5.88. They had 22 first downs. Third down conversions, they were 8 for 14 for 57.1% and no fourth down attempts. The Arizona Cardinals ran 60 plays for 314 yards, 42 passes for 257, 18 rushes for 57. Average yards per play was 5.23. They had 24 first downs. Third down conversions, 6 for 11, 54.5%. Fourth down conversions, 0 for 1. Seahawks defense, 42 tackles, 23 solo with 3 sacks, no forced fumbles, 4 passes defensed, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 8 times for 79 yards. The Cardinals defense had 46 tackles, 26 solo with 3 sacks, no forced fumbles, no passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. The Cardinals were penalized 10 times for 115. Time of possession favored Seattle, 35 minutes 7 seconds. That makes them ball hawks. Cardinals possessed the ball for just 24 minutes and 53 seconds. Closing line was Seattle -3. Margin was 7 points. Over-under at close was 56.5. The two teams combined for just 49, so this game finished under the total. Two teams racked up 661 yards on 119 offensive plays, with a combined average yards per play of 5.55. I picked the Cardinals to win 31-24, and I also picked Arizona to cover, so I lost both picks there. Now to the Sunday schedule. The Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. The Falcons came in with a record of 3-6. They were ranked number 21 in my Week 11 power rankings. The New Orleans Saints came in as the leaders in the NFC South with a 7-2 record, and they were ranked 3rd in my power rankings. And no Drew Brees, no problem for the Saints as they win this one 24-9. New Orleans moves its record to 8-2 as they travel to Denver on Sunday to battle the Broncos. We'll tell you how they did against the Dolphins a little bit later. While the Falcons fall to 3-7, they will host the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday. The Saints offense ran 59 plays for 378 yards, 23 passes for 210, 36 rushes for 168. Average yards per play 6.41. The Saints had 24 first downs. They were 4 for 11 on third down conversions. That's 36.4%. Fourth down conversions 1 for 1. The Atlanta Falcons ran 52 offensive plays for 248 yards, 37 passes for 196, 15 rushes for just 52 yards. Average yards per play was 4.77. They had 14 first downs. Third downs, they were horrible. 2 for 14 on third down conversions. That's 14.3%. But they were 2 for 3 on fourth down. That's 66.7%. Saints defense at 39 tackles, 28 solo. How about 8 sacks on Matt Ryan? 8. No forced fumbles, 11 passes defensed, 2 interceptions, and no touchdowns. So this defense really got on Matt Ryan's nerves on Sunday. The Falcons defense had 51 tackles, 27 solo with 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 passes defensed, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. New Orleans was flagged 5 times for 35 yards. Atlanta, 7 penalties for 53. Time of possession favors the home team. 33 minutes, 41 seconds in time of possession for the Saints versus 26 minutes and 19 seconds for the Atlanta Falcons. Closing line was New Orleans minus 3.5. Margin was 15. Over under at close 49.5. They missed that total by a lot as the two teams scored just 33 points. Totaled 626 yards of offense on 111 plays. Combined average yards per play is 5.64. Now, in part 2 of my Week 11 preview, I initially took the Falcons to win this game because Drew Brees wasn't playing. Taysom Hill was the starting quarterback for New Orleans, and he did pretty well. So late Friday night after I made the Week 11 preview, I changed my pick in this game and went with the Saints. And I picked them to win 27-17. Now, initially, I had Atlanta winning this game 27-23. I also changed my against the spread pick, where New Orleans would cover the 3.5 points. And they did so, winning by 15. So I'm glad I made the change in this game. All right, off the DC we go, as the Cincinnati Bengals visited the Washington football team. The Bengals came in at 2-6-1 and ranked number 24 in my power rankings. Washington was 2-7 and ranked 29th. And give this one to the home team as Washington wins 20-9. The Washington no-names improved their record to 3-7, and they'll have very little time to recover as they will play Thanksgiving Day in Dallas against the division rival Cowboys. Meanwhile, the Bengals dropped to 2-7-1. They will host the New York Giants on Sunday afternoon. All right, taking a look at both offenses. The Washington football team ran 59 plays for 325 yards, 25 passes for 161, 34 rushes for 164. Average yards per play was 5.51. Washington had a total of 20 first downs. Third down conversions, they were 4 for 13 for 30.8%, and they attempted no fourth down plays. Cincinnati's offense ran 62 plays for 272 yards, 44 passes for 202, 18 rushes for 70. Average yards per play was 4.39. The Bengals had 18 first downs. Their third down conversions weren't good either. 3 for 13 at 23.1%. Fourth downs, 0 for 2. Washington's defense recorded 37 tackles, 17 solo, with 4 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 8 passes defensed, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. Cincinnati's defense had 42 tackles, 19 solo tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 5 passes defensed, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. Looking at the penalties, Washington had 6 for 49 yards. Cincinnati had 3 for 31. Time of possession, a slight advantage to Washington as they held the ball for 30 minutes 46 seconds, while the Bengals had it for 29 minutes and 14 seconds. Oh, and a note from this game, Joe Burrow got hurt and is feared to be lost for the season. Closing line in this game is Washington -1, margin is 6 points. Over-under was set at 48 points, and they missed that by quite a bit, as the two teams combined for just 29 points. The two teams combined for only 597 yards of offense on 121 plays. Combined average yards per play is 4.93. I did pick Cincinnati 24-17, and I also picked them to cover Washington's 1-point spread. And those are two of the picks that I horribly regret. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be more to come. I still have 11 more games to go through. All right. Meanwhile, down the Atlantic coast in Charlotte, the Detroit Lions played the Carolina Panthers. Detroit came in with a record of 4-5, and they were ranked 22nd in my Week 11 power rankings. Carolina Panthers came in at 3-7 and ranked 25th. And it was all Panthers all day as Carolina blanked Detroit 20-0. Panthers moved their record to 4-7. They will travel to Minneapolis as they will play yet another NFC North team, the Minnesota Vikings. As for the 4-6 Lions, they will host the Houston Texans on Thanksgiving Day. Now, this is the first game of the Turkey Day tripleheader. And I will be giving you my picks on the 3 Thanksgiving Day games in part 1 of my Week 12 preview. That will be coming up on Wednesday, so watch for that. Carolina Panthers offense ran 69 plays for 374 yards, 35 passes for 258, 34 rushes for 116. Average yards per play, 5.42. Panthers had 20 first downs, third down conversions, not great. 5 of 15 for 33.3%, and no fourth down attempts. The Detroit Lions offense ran 50 plays for just 185 yards, limited to 33 passes for 145 yards, and 17 rushes for only 40 yards. Average yards per play, 3.70. The Lions the entire game had 10 first downs, and they were terrible on third downs as they went 3 for 14 for 21.4%. Fourth down conversions, they were 1 for 3, 33.3%. Carolina's defense recorded 28 tackles, 3 solo tackles, 5 sacks on Matthew Stafford. No forced fumbles, 6 passes defensed, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. Carolina was penalized 7 times for 45 yards. Time of possession puts them in ball hawk territory at 36 minutes 48 seconds. The Lions defense recorded 43 tackles, 11 solo tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, 6 passes defense, 2 interceptions, and no touchdowns. Detroit was flagged 4 times for 20 yards. Time of possession just 23 minutes and 12 seconds. Closing line was Detroit -3. Margin was 20, with Carolina scoring all the points. Total points were 20. Again, Carolina scoring all the points. And this game finished well under the 47 total. The two teams combined for 559 yards of offense on 119 plays and a combined average yards per play of 4.70. Yeah, no offense whatsoever in this game. At least from the Lions anyway. I picked Carolina to win this game 27-21 and to cover Detroit's 3-point spread, which they do, so I got the win in both those picks. Alright, off we go now to Houston. As the 2-7 Texans, who came in at number 28 in my power rankings, host Cam Newton and the 3-6 New England Patriots, but rather the 4-5 New England Patriots, who all of a sudden won back-to-back games. They came in at number 18 in my power rankings. And it's the home team winning again as Houston pulls off the upset, 27-20. The Texans improved to 3-7, and a quick turnaround for Houston as they travel to Detroit on Turkey Day to face the Lions. New England's record drops to 4-6. They will host Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals Sunday in Foxborough. Texans offense ran 56 plays for 399 yards, 37 passes for 344, 19 rushes for just 55. Average yards per play, pretty good though, 7.13. They had 21 first downs, third down conversions, 5 of 11 for 45.5%. No fourth down plays. The Patriots offense ran 64 plays for 435 yards, 40 passes for 349, 24 rushes for 86. Average yards per play, 6.80. Patriots had one more first down than the Texans, 22. Third down conversions, they were great, 7-13 for 53.8%, 0 for 1 on fourth down. Texans defense, 48 tackles, 36 solo, with 2 sacks, no forced fumbles, 6 passes defensed, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were flagged 5 times for 35 yards, average, and total time of possession was 27 minutes, 42 seconds. The New England Patriot defense had 36 tackles, 12 solo, with no sacks, no forced fumbles, 2 passes defensed, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. The Patriots were penalized 7 times for 55 yards. Total time of possession was 32 minutes and 18 seconds. Closing line was New England -2.5. Margin was 7 points. Over under at close was 49.5. They just missed that number by just a couple. The two teams scored 47 points. But they did rack up the yards, 834 in total on 120 plays. Combined average yards per play, 6.95. So these two teams combined for nearly 7 yards per offensive play. I picked the Patriots to beat the Texans 27-17 and cover the 2.5 points. I lost both those picks. All right. Next stop, Cleveland. As the 6-3 Browns, ranked number 15 in my power rankings, played host to the 3-5-1 and NFC East leading Philadelphia Eagles, ranked number 20. Browns win this one 22-17, and how about this? At 7-3, Cleveland's off to their best start since 2014. And next week, they pretty much have a gimme game as they travel down to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. While the Eagles fall to 3-6-1, they're still leading the NFC East, by the way. And they got a tough game coming up on Monday night against Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. Cleveland's offense ran 62 plays, finished with 324 yards, 22 passes for 187, 40 rushes for 137. Average yards per play, 5.23. The Browns had 17 first downs, third down conversions not great, 4 of 14 for 28.6%. Fourth downs also not great, 0 for 2. The Eagles ran 60 offensive plays for 315 yards, 35 passes for 209, 25 rushes for 106. Average yards per play, 5.25. They had 19 first downs, 2 more than the Browns. Third down conversions for Philadelphia, worse than the Browns. 2 for 12 at 16.7%, but they were a perfect 2 for 2 on fourth down, which is another area where they have struggled. The Browns defense had 48 tackles, 36 solo. They sacked Carson Wentz 5 times. They forced 3 fumbles. They defended 8 passes. They got an interception and a touchdown from Sione Takitaki. This was a 50-yard pick six in the first quarter, put the Browns up 7-0. Cleveland was penalized 3 times for 53 yards. Time of possession was 31 minutes, 44 seconds. The Philadelphia defense had 51 tackles, 34 solo. They sacked Baker Mayfield 3 times. They forced the fumble in this game. No passes defense, and this is the second week in a row that they had no passes defense. No interceptions and no touchdowns. The Eagles were flagged 5 times for 33 yards, and total time of possession was 28 minutes, 16 seconds. Closing line was Cleveland minus 2.5. Margin was 5 points. Over under 45.5. This game also finished under the total as the two combined for 39 points, 639 yards of offense on 122 plays, equaling out to a combined average yards per play of 5.24. I picked the Browns to win this game 27-14. I got the win straight up. And I got the win against the spread, as I also had the Browns covering the 2.5 points. They did so, winning by 5. All right, down to Duval County. The undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, ranked number 1 in my Week 11 power rankings, took their 9-0 record to Jacksonville, where they faced off with the 1-8 Jaguars, ranked 31st. And this was really no contest as Pittsburgh goes into Jacksonville and stomps all over the Jags 27-3. So the Steelers remain perfect at 10-0, but they will be tested Thanksgiving night as the Baltimore Ravens come to Heinz Field for a Turkey Day divisional tilt. While Jacksonville have now lost 9 straight games, this is the longest losing streak in their franchise history. And it gets no easier for them as Baker Mayfield and the aforementioned Browns come down to Duval County this week. Steelers offense ran 73 plays for 373 yards, 46 passes for 267, 27 runs for 106, average yards per play 5.11. The Steelers had 23 first downs. Third down conversions were all right, 7 of 17, 41.2%. Fourth downs, they only had 1 and they converted it. Jacksonville's offense was non-existent. They ran 54 plays for 206 yards, 37 passes for 133, and they were limited to just 17 rushes for 73 yards. Average yards per play was 3.81. Jacksonville totaled 14 first downs, third down conversions 4 of 13 for 30.8%, fourth down conversions 0 for 1. Pittsburgh's defense had 32 tackles, 19 solo with 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 8 passes defensed, 4 interceptions, and no touchdowns. The Steelers were penalized 6 times for 42 yards, and their total time of possession was 36 minutes, 29 seconds. That made them ball hawks. The Jacksonville Jaguars recorded 49 tackles from their defense, 28 solo, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 6 passes defensed, 1 interception, and 0 touchdowns. They were hit with 8 flags for 105 yards. Time of possession, a measly 23 minutes and 31 seconds. Closing line was Pittsburgh minus 10.5. Margin was 24. So this was the biggest spread of all the games on the board. Biggest spread of all the games at 24 points. Over-under was at 47. Total points scored was 30. So this was well under that number. The two teams combined for 579 yards of offense on 127 plays. Combined average yards per play was 4.56. I did a little bit of a change in my pick. I still went with the Steelers to win, only I adjusted the score, and I had initially took Jacksonville to cover the 10 points, or the 10.5 points. But on Saturday, I adjusted that pick. Instead, I took the Steelers 31-14 and to cover the 10.5 points. They won this bad boy by 24, as I mentioned. So I won both of those picks. Our next stop takes us to Baltimore. As the 6-3 Tennessee Titans, ranked number 14 in my power rankings, battled Lamar Jackson and the 6-3 Baltimore Ravens, ranked number 5 in my power rankings. Now these two met in the playoffs back in January, and Tennessee walked out of Baltimore with an upset win. Well, they did it again, as Tennessee goes into Baltimore and knocks off the Ravens 30-24 in overtime. So the Titans go to 7-3, and that'll set up a second battle for the AFC South lead as they travel to Indianapolis to face the Colts. More on the Colts in their game with Green Bay in just a bit. The Ravens dropped to 6-4, and now they get to go to Pittsburgh on Thanksgiving night to battle the division rival Steelers. And if they lose this game, Baltimore can forget about winning the North. At this rate, it'll be just the Steelers and Browns in that division race, should the Ravens lose Thursday night. Tennessee Titans offense ran 66 plays for 423 yards, 32 passes for 250, 34 runs for 173. Average yards per play, 6.41. Tennessee had 26 first downs, third down conversions 5 for 12, that's 41.7%. Fourth down conversions 1 for 1. Ravens offense ran 63 plays and were held to 306 yards. 29 passes for just 177 and 34 rushes for 129. Baltimore averaged 164 rush yards per game entering, so this is below their average. Average yards per play is 4.86. Ravens had 21 first downs. Third down conversions were solid, 9 for 15. That's 60%. And no fourth down plays. Tennessee's defense recorded 40 tackles, 15 solo tackles, 1 sack on Lamar Jackson, no forced fumbles, 6 passes defense, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. The Titans were flagged 4 times for 44 yards. Total time of possession, including overtime, 33 minutes, 33 seconds. Ravens defense had 46 tackles, 22 solo tackles, 2 sacks on Ryan Tannehill, 1 forced fumble, 2 passes defense, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. They were hit with 6 penalties for 81 yards. Time of possession, including overtime, was 31 minutes and 6 seconds. Closing line was Baltimore -6. Margin was exactly 6 points. Over-under at close was 50.5. Two teams combined for 54 points. So this is the first game on the Week 11 slate that finished over its closing over-under total. The two teams combined for 729 yards of offense on 129 plays, and a combined average yards per play of 5.65. I picked Baltimore to win this game 27-24. I lost the straight up pick, but I got the pick against the spread since I did have Tennessee covering Baltimore's 6 points, and they did so, winning by 6 points. So that's a dub in the ATS win column. So those were the early games. Now on to the late games. And how about those Miami Dolphins? Winners of 5 straight and coming in with a 6-3 record and ranked number 6 in my power rankings. I think this is the highest I've ever had Miami in my power rankings. They made the trek west to Denver to face the 3-6 Broncos, who were ranked number 23. And how about this? Here's another upset for you as the Broncos ends Miami's 5-game win streak with a 20-13 victory. Broncos are now 4-6. They will host the Drew Brees-less New Orleans Saints on Sunday. I'm assuming Taysom Hill will be starting that game as well. The Dolphins dropped to 6-4. They're off to New York to face the winless Jets, and we'll tell you how they did against the Chargers after this game. Denver's offense ran 63 plays for 459 yards, 30 passes for 270, that's an even 9 yards per pass, 33 rushes for 189, so their ground game was working. Average yards per play was 7.29, very impressive. They had 19 first downs, third down conversions, just 33.3%, 4 out of 12, and 1 for 2 on fourth down. Meanwhile, the Dolphins' offense just couldn't get going in this game. They were held to 223 yards on 55 plays, 38 passes for just 167, and they were limited to 17 rushes and 56 yards. Average yards per play was 4.05. They had 17 first downs. Their third downs were working to an extent, 7 of 16, 43.8%. No fourth down attempts. Denver's defense had 41 tackles, 27 solo tackles, 6 sacks, no forced fumbles, 5 passes defensed, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 8 times for 70 yards. Total time of possession was 30 minutes and 19 seconds. The Miami Dolphins defense recorded 39 tackles, 14 solo tackles, no sacks, 1 forced fumble, 4 passes defensed, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 5 times for 50 yards. Total time of possession was 29 minutes and 41 seconds. Oh, quick note from this game. Tua Tagovailoa did get benched in this game, and they ended up going back to Ryan Fitzpatrick. No word on whether Fitzpatrick will start Sunday against the Jets. We'll have to see as the week goes on. Closing line was Miami minus 3.5. Margin was 7. Your over-under at close was 46. The two teams scored just 33 points. So here's another game that finished under the total. There were 682 yards of offense and 118 plays by the two teams. And the combined average yards per play was 5.78. I don't even know how they got to that number. I don't even know how they got the 5.78. I'm going to have to do some quick math. 5.78. Okay. Alright, so Miami's average yards per play is correct. Okay, never mind. My math was correct. I took the Dolphins to win this game 26-16 and to cover the 3.5 points. They lost on both accounts. Alright, now we can talk about the New York Football Jets. 0-9 and ranked 32nd in my power rankings coming into Week 11. They made the cross-country trek to the City of Angels, where they faced off with rookie quarterback Justin Herbert and the 2-7 Los Angeles Chargers, ranked number 27. And again, the Jets are playing their hearts out, but they just come a handful of points short once again, as the Chargers win 34-28 and keep the Jets winless. LA goes to 3-7. They'll be making the cross-country trek east to Buffalo next week to battle the AFC East leading Bills. While the Jets at 0-10 return home to the Meadowlands to host what should be a very angry Dolphins team who were outplayed by the Broncos on Sunday. Chargers offense ran 75 plays for 376 yards, 49 passes for 347, 26 rushes for just 29 yards. Average yards per play 5.01. They had 28 first downs. They have 28 first downs. Third down conversions, they were 9 for 15 for 60%. Fourth down conversions, 0 for 1. The New York Jets, 54 offensive plays for 292 yards, 30 passes for 196, 24 rushes for 96. Average yards per play was higher than that of the Chargers at 5.41. First downs, they had 20 of them. Third down conversions, 5 of 11, 45.5%. That's respectable. Fourth down conversions, 1 for 2 for 50%. The Chargers defense had 33 tackles, 16 solo, with 1 sack, no forced fumbles, 5 passes defense, 1 interception, and a touchdown. This was a 6-yard pick six by Tavon Campbell. The Chargers had 9 penalties for 78 yards. Time of possession was 36 minutes, 28 seconds. That made them ball hawks. The New York Jets defense recorded 48 tackles, 11 solo, 3 sacks on Justin Herbert, 1 forced fumble, no interception, no touchdowns, and 2 passes defense. New York was flagged 8 times for 88 yards. Time of possession was 23 minutes and 32 seconds. Closing line was LA minus 10, margin 6 points. Over under at close 47, total points was 62, so this game finished over. Two teams combined for 668 yards on 129 offensive plays and a combined average yards per play of 5.18. I picked LA to win this game 29-13, so I got the straight up pick right. I also picked the Chargers to cover the 10 points, But since they only won by 6, New York gets the cover, so I lose the ATS pick. All right. Back east we go to Minneapolis. It's the Dallas Cowboys at the Minnesota Vikings. Dallas came in ranked 30th in my power rankings and a 2-7 record. Minnesota came in with a record of 4-5, and they were ranked 16th. And this is probably the best game the Cowboys played in quite some time, as they go into US Bank Stadium and win 31-28. So Dallas is now 3-7. They will be hosting the Washington No Names on Thanksgiving, while the Minnesota Vikings fall to 4-6. They're home on Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. The Cowboys offense ran 63 plays for 376 yards. 32 passes for 196 yards. 31 rushes for 180. Average yards per play 5.97. Dallas had 24 first downs. Third down conversions were great, 5 of 11 for 45.5%. Fourth downs also great, 2 for 3 at 66.7%. The Vikings offense recorded 59 plays for 430 yards, 30 passes for 305, 29 rushes for 125. Average yards per play is 7.29. First downs, the Vikings also had 24, same as the Cowboys. They were a little bit better on third down conversions. 6 out of 10 for 60%. And 0 for 1 on fourth down. The Cowboys defense had 33 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, no passes defensed, no interceptions, no touchdowns. They were penalized 4 times for 30 yards. Total time of possession, 28 minutes, 11 seconds. Vikings defense had 34 tackles, 1 sack, no forced fumbles, 3 passes defense, 1 interception, no touchdowns. They were flagged 8 times for 80 yards. Total time of possession, 31 minutes, 49 seconds. And there were no solo tackles either way in this game by either team. Closing line, Minnesota -7. Margin 3 points. Over under at close, 50. Total points scored, 59. So this finishes over the total. The two teams combined for 806 yards of offense and 122 plays. Average yards per play was 6.61. I picked the Vikings to blow out the Cowboys 31-14. And I picked them to cover the 7 points, and I lost both of those picks. So yeah, as you can tell, this has been a pretty rough week. That brings us to our next game. The Green Bay Packers at the Indianapolis Colts. Green Bay came in with a record of 7-2, and they were ranked at number 4 in my Week 11 power rankings, while Indianapolis came in at 6-3 and ranked number 11. It looked for a while like the Packers were going to win this game. They were up 21-7 at one point. But the Colts outscored Green Bay 20-3 in the second half and in overtime, as Indianapolis steals this one from the Cheeseheads 34-31. The Colts return home the Colts rather stay home to host the Tennessee Titans in another battle for first place in the AFC East or in the AFC South. I swear these two just played in Week 10, but yet they're playing again. The Packers, meanwhile, will be on Sunday Night Football at home against the Chicago Bears. Both teams are now 7-3. The Colts offense ran 73 plays for 420 yards, 36 passes for 280, 37 runs for 140. Average yards per play 5.75. They had 23 first downs, third down conversion 6 of 16 for 37.5%, and they were a perfect 2 for 2 on fourth down. The Green Bay Packers offense ran 56 plays for 367 yards, 38 passes for 301, 18 rushes for only 66. So rushing in this game was a 2-1 advantage to Indianapolis. Average yards per play by the Packers was 6.55. Green Bay logged 21 first downs, third down conversions was 4 for 9, which is 44.4%, and 0 for 1 on fourth down. The Colts defense had 45 tackles, 34 solo tackles, 1 sack on Aaron Rodgers, 2 forced fumbles, 2 passes defensed, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. And boy, did they get hit with the penalties. They had 8 flags for 116 yards. Total time of possession, including overtime, 35 minutes and 1 second. Just enough to put Indianapolis in ball hawk territory. Green Bay's defense recorded 59 tackles, 33 solo tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, 10 passes defensed, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. They too were hit with the flags with regularity, 7 of them for 45 yards. Total time of possession, including OT, was 27 minutes, 49 seconds. And this was the league leader in average time of possession. They averaged about 33 minutes per game going into Sunday. They only possessed the ball 27 minutes and 49 seconds against Indianapolis. Closing line was Indianapolis, -1. Margin 3 points. Over under at close, 52 points. And they shot over that at 65. They combined for 787 yards of offense and 129 plays. And a combined average yards per play of 6.10. Solid. I picked the Packers to win 31-21 and to cover the 1 point as the road underdog. But thanks a lot, Rodrigo Blankenship. I lost both those picks. All right, now to Sunday night football, or should I say Sunday night revenge football. At least revenge was on the mind of the world champion Kansas City Chiefs, who had an 8-1 record and were ranked number 2 in my Week 11 power rankings. They made the trek out to Sin City to face the 6-3 Las Vegas Raiders, ranked number 12. And yes, it was the Raiders who handed Kansas City their only loss this season. But a big fourth quarter turned all of that around as the champs do in. But a big fourth quarter by the champs means Kansas City does exact their revenge from that loss to the Raiders by beating them in their house 35-31. I kind of got hung up there. Sorry about that. So now the Kansas City Chiefs go to 9-1, and they are off to Tampa to face the Buccaneers. So we got Mahomes versus Brady once again next Sunday on the Pirate Ship. Should be fun. The Raiders dropped to 6-4. They're also traveling to an NFC South opponent. They will face Matt Ryan in the Atlanta Falcons in the ATL come Sunday. The Chiefs offense ran 73 plays for 460 yards, 46 passes for 352, 27 rushes for 108. Average yards per play 6.30. The Chiefs had 36 first downs. That is not a typo. 36 first downs. Third down conversions, pretty good. 55.6%. 5 out of 9. Fourth downs, excellent. 2 for 2. The Las Vegas Raiders ran 57 plays on offense for 364 yards, 31 passes for 275, 26 rushes for 89. Average yards per play slightly higher than the Chiefs, 6.39. Vegas had 25 first downs. Third down conversions, they had the highest percentage of any team in the NFL in Week 11, 66.7%. That's 6 out of 9. And no fourth down plays. KC's defense recorded 38 tackles, 18 solo tackles, no sacks, no forced fumbles, 2 passes defense, 1 interception, and 0 touchdowns. Kansas City, however, was flagged 10 times for 89 yards. Total time of possession 32 minutes and 5 seconds. The Las Vegas defense recorded 50 tackles, 33 solo, no sacks, no forced fumbles, 5 passes defense, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 8 times for 72 yards. Total time of possession was 27 minutes and 55 seconds. Closing line was KC minus 7.5. Margin was only 4 points. Over under at close, 56.5. They shot over that, scoring 66 points. So in terms of points, this was the highest scoring game in Week 11. Two teams combined for 824 yards on 130 plays. Average yards per play combined was 6.34. I picked the Chiefs to win 34-24. Got the straight up pick correct. And I needed that one. I picked Kansas City to cover the 7.5 points. But they only won by 4. So Vegas gets the cover. And I take the loss here. And then Monday Night Football wrapping up just hours ago in Tampa. It is the Los Angeles Rams at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. LA entered with a record of 6-3, and they were ranked 10th in my power rankings. While Tampa Bay came in with a 7-3 record, they were ranked number 8. And it looks like the big game struggles continue for Tom Brady as the Bucs fall to the Rams 27-24. And this is also a revenge game of sorts, at least for the two quarterbacks involved, as Jared Goff defeats Tom Brady, exacting revenge for their Super Bowl loss just a couple years back. LA goes to 7-3. They will host the division rival 49ers on Sunday, while Tampa Bay drops to 7-4. Next up, the world champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, will be in town. LA's offense ran 71 plays for 413 yards, 51 passes for 376, just 20 rushes and 37 yards. Average yards per play, 5.82. LA finishes with 22 first downs. Third downs were awesome. 8 of 15 for 53.3% and no fourth down plays. Buccaneers offense, less than stellar. 66 plays run for 251 yards. 48 passes for 209. 18 rushes for 42. So really both teams struggled with the ground games tonight. Average yards per play, 3.80. Tampa Bay finishes with 20 first downs. Third downs were also good. 7 of 14 for 50%. Fourth down conversions, 0 for 1. LA's defense recorded 38 tackles, 14 solo tackles, 1 sack, no forced fumbles, 6 passes defense, 2 interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 5 times for 65 yards. Total time of possession, 33 minutes and 13 seconds. So not quite to ball hawk territory for the Rams. Tampa Bay's defense records 48 tackles, 23 solo tackles, no sacks, no forced fumbles, so they were quite in those two areas. 4 passes defense, 2 interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were flagged only twice for 7 yards. That's it, twice for 7 yards. Total time of possession, not good, 26 minutes, 47 seconds. Closing line was Tampa Bay -4. Margin was 3 points. Your over-under was set at 47.5 points. They just finished over the number here with 51. The two teams combined for 664 yards and 137 plays. Combined average yards per play, only 4.85 yards. I picked Tampa Bay to win 26-20 and to cover the 4 points. I lost both those picks. All right, so the teams that were in the bye week were the 7-3 Buffalo Bills, the 5-5 Chicago Bears, the 3-7 New York Football Giants, and the 4-6 and reigning NFC champions, lest we forget, the San Francisco 49ers. Now, my picks, not good, either straight up or against the spread. Again, as I said at the top, this was my worst week picking games. I went 6-8 with my straight up picks this week for 42.8%. So for the season, I am now 111, 49, and 1. So I'm under the 70% threshold for the season. I'm at 69.3% through 161 games. I was slightly worse against the spread, and that's pretty much been the story of the season here, my bad picks against the spread. I went 5-9 ATS, that's 35.7%, and I'm back under 500 for the season. 78 wins, 82 losses, and 1 tie, that's 48.8% through 161 games. All right, now it's time to look at the Week 12 power rankings. And with all the upsets on the board, there was a lot of movement, and there were some sharp moves by some teams. So here we go with my Week 12 NFL power rankings. There's no changes with the bottom 2 teams, as the 0-10 New York Jets remain at number 32. They will host the Dolphins. And the 1-9 Jacksonville Jaguars, they put at number 31. They're home against the Cleveland Browns. Now, there was a flip-flop with 2 of the teams in the NFC East. The Washington football team moved down a spot to 30. While the 3-7 Dallas Cowboys moved up a spot to 29. And I did that because Dallas went into Minnesota and knocked off the Vikings. These 2 teams will meet in Dallas on Thanksgiving Day. Number 28 is where you'll find the first significant movement on the power rankings, as the Cincinnati Bengals, now at 2-7-1, fall 4 spots to 28. They're home against the New York Giants. The 3-7 LA Chargers remain at number 27. They travel to Buffalo this week. Up 2 spots to number 26, previously 28. The Houston Texans, they too are playing on Turkey Day against the Lions in Detroit. 25 is the New York Football Giants at 3-7. That's up a spot from last week. They will face the Bengals in Cincinnati. So I got 2 games on the schedule hitting 4 of the league's worst. That's crazy. All right, into my third tier, at number 24 with a 4-6 record, down 2 spots from last week, are the Detroit Lions, home against the Texans on Thanksgiving. The Philadelphia Eagles, 3-6-1 and still leading the NFC least. They fall 3 spots to number 23, and they get Russell Wilson and the Seahawks next Monday night in Philly. The 3-7 Atlanta Falcons only slip a spot down to 22. They're home against the Raiders. At 21, down 3 spots from last week, they are now 4-6. And you have Kyler Murray and the Cardinals coming to Foxborough this week. That's the New England Patriots. Meanwhile, Cam Newton's former team, the Carolina Panthers, are 4-7. They move up 5 spots to number 20. They will face the Vikings this week in Minnesota. Fresh off the bye and holding steady at number 19 are the San Francisco 49ers at 4-6. They travel down the California coast to battle the Rams on Sunday in Los Angeles. At number 18 with a 4-6 record, up 5 spots from last week, the Denver Broncos, after that big upset win over Miami. They will host the New Orleans Saints on Sunday. Can they knock off 2 potential playoff contenders in back-to-back weeks? We shall see. Number 17, also with a 4-6 record, slipping a spot from last week, are the Minnesota Vikings, home against the Carolina Panthers this week. And then inching up a spot to number 16, fresh off the bye and headed to Green Bay on Sunday night, are the 5-5 Chicago Bears. So essentially, the Vikings and Bears switched spots, with the Vikings moving down and the Bears moving up. Speaking of moving down, at number 15, falling 3 spots from last week with a 6-4 record, they travel to Atlanta this week, the Las Vegas Raiders. Number 14, with a record of 7-4, they host the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs on Sunday, dropping 6 spots from last week. Our biggest drop in this week's power rankings, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, after yet another lackluster showing in prime time. At number 13, with a record of 7-3, up 2 spots from last week, they're off to Jacksonville. That's the Cleveland Browns. At number 12, also up 2 spots from last week, they have a 7-3 record, fresh off of their upset overtime win in Baltimore. Now, they go to Indianapolis, where first place in the AFC South is at stake. That's the Tennessee Titans sitting at 12. Falling 5 spots out of the top 10 to number 11 with a 6-4 record, they will get the Jets in New York this week. That's the Miami Dolphins. 5-point drop necessitated by that loss in Denver. All right, top 10. Number 10 up 3 spots from last week. They're 7-3. They travel to Philadelphia Monday night, and that's the Seattle Seahawks. At number 9, down 2 spots from last week. They're 6-4. They travel to New England. That's the Arizona Cardinals. Number 8, dropping 3 spots from last week. They too have a 6-4 record. And they play the finale of the Turkey Day triple header against the Steelers at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. So this is essentially a revenge game for them, and it's also a division elimination game for the Ravens. As I said before, if they lose this game, they're out of the running for the AFC North title. Number 7, up 2 spots from last week, even though they didn't play. They're 7-3. They will host the Chargers on Sunday. That's the Buffalo Bills. Number 6, also at 7-3. Dropping 2 spots from last week. They will host the Bears on Sunday Night Football. That's the Green Bay Packers. All right. Then you got number 5 and number 4. Both teams are 7-3. Both teams are coming off of wins. Both teams have the biggest jump in this week's power rankings, both moving up 6 spots. Number 5 is the Indianapolis Colts, who will host the Tennessee Titans in a battle for first in the AFC South. And this is a rematch from Week 10. Number 4 is the Los Angeles Rams, who will host the San Francisco 49ers. And just like there was no change with the bottom 2, there is no change with the top 3. Staying at number 3 with an 8-2 record, they travel to Denver this week. That's the New Orleans Saints. Holding steady at number 2 with a 9-1 record, they're off the Tampa to face Tom Brady and the Patriots. Yeah, I knew that. I was just testing you. They were off the Tampa Bay to face Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, not the Patriots. Stayed at number 2, the reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. And locking down the number 1 spot for the 6th consecutive week with a 10-0 record, they host the Baltimore Ravens in the Turkey Day triple header finale on Thursday night. That, my friends, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that wraps up the Week 11 and that will wrap up the Week 11 edition of the week that was in the National Football League. Now, I got a lot of work to do on Tuesday. I got to update playoff standings. I got to update league leaders, individual league leaders. So I'm going to do all of that tomorrow. And then Wednesday, I will be making my picks for the 3 Thanksgiving Day games. At the Texans and Lions beginning the day. Then you have Washington and the Cowboys. And then we'll wrap it up with a goodie with the Ravens and Steelers. So I will be making my picks for those 3 games in part 1 of my Week 12 review. That'll drop on Wednesday. And then I'll pick the other 13 games on Friday. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell twice every time I post a vid. This is Big Al signing off. Enjoy the pigskin. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll holler at y'all later. Peace out.